Morning, everybody, and welcome back to another video in Behind the Curtain of Leadership. Last video, I talked about the differences between drivership and leadership. And today, I'm going to be talking about the concept of we think versus what they think. What do we think about things versus what they think about those same things, with they being everybody other than we, than us. So some years ago, I was part of a small group where Annette Franz was discussing her work with customer experience. Now, Annette has written several books on customer experience and consults with companies to help them improve in this area, which is extremely important. And during her presentation, she talked about the importance of intentionally learning what others think about our business instead of getting caught up with what we think about our business. Now, look, we all know that our opinions are simply our opinions, and just because we believe them doesn't mean they're true for anybody else, right? As leaders in business, part of our responsibility is setting the vision, the culture, expectations, attitude, and tone of the team. And part of setting the tone for the team means, what do we as a team and a company believe we are? What's our identity? And as a leader, we know everything about our company, our people, our products, our service, our customers, the market, and we should know all those things. And sometimes we talk ourselves into thinking somehow we're so much better than our competition. We listen to our own self-talk about how great we are, and we become naturally biased. Now, positive self-talk is incredibly important for us as individuals, but in a group or a team setting, if we're not careful, it can be what you call we think. We think we're better. We think we have the best people. We think our customers love us. We think our employees love us. It's this we think all the time. And while this is important, it's important that we find out what they think, with they being everyone other than you. This could be how you're viewed in the market, how you're viewed in the industry, by your customers, the community, and most importantly, how you're viewed by your own employees. This is what they think about your business. Now, this is a very common problem with all businesses as we get so caught up in the we think mindset that, we just don't stop and ask, what do other people think? So let's look how this works with your two most important groups, your employees and your customers. Now, remember what Simon Sinek said: 100% of your employees are people. 100% of your customers are people. If you don't understand people, you don't understand business. So let's take a look at the employees as a group. So how do you find out what your employees actually think about your company, about their roles, their importance or value to the company, and their performance versus what you think? How do you find out what your employees think? Maybe you send surveys from HR, maybe you do town hall meetings, maybe you do like a quarterly all hands meeting, maybe you do an annual or year-end meeting, periodic performance reviews, any of those things. But the question is, do any of these really work? And they might. And if this is all you can do, that's fine. But in reality, these rarely give you any meaningful insight into what your employees actually think and feel about the company on an emotional, heartfelt level. So the question is, why don't they work that well? Well, from what I've experienced and talking to, again, hundreds and thousands of people, these things are all really designed to give information and to get superficial feedback. And the employees know it, so that's what they give you, right? They basically say back to you what they think you want to hear. Now, some people might give you, quote, the real stuff, but most people don't tell you the truth because they really know you really don't care that much about it, and you probably won't do anything with the information even if they did tell you the truth. Now, smaller, more family-oriented businesses have a much better chance of truly understanding their employees, and that's one reason why they're successful, right? They have loyal customers, they have very long-term employees, and very solid, stable businesses. But the larger a company grows, the more detached the company becomes, and the less they truly understand their employees. Although some might maintain long-term employees, it's much less common with a larger company. And this is one reason why bigger companies want to buy smaller companies, right? They buy loyal employees and customers that they can't generate on their own, or they don't have time to build on their own. Okay, so now let's look at customers. How does this we think, they think deal with customers? So, how do you learn what your customers think about your business? Do you send them surveys and ask you to rate your company on a scale of 1 to 10 in various areas? Maybe you do Google reviews, and maybe you meet with them once a year when their annual contract renews, or maybe you talk to them only when they really need your product or service, or you're trying to sell them something. Then you ask them, well, how are we doing? So the question is, does this really work? And if you answered yes, is this we think or they think? And how would you know the difference? So usually you find out what your customer really thinks about your business when they decide to leave for a competitor. And then it's too late, and it should be too late, right? If you're not staying close enough to your customers to know when something's wrong before they fire you, then you probably don't deserve their business to start with. Look, whether you're dealing with employees or customers, you're dealing with people. And if you think of these people as employees or customers first, you'll always be working from the wrong end of the problem. If you think of your employees and customers as people first, you'll think and you'll do things differently. You'll find the time to get to know them personally. You'll learn what's important to them in their lives. What about their goals, challenges they're facing, how they feel about their role, and how your business is helping them on a personal and professional level, either as an employee or a customer. You will learn what they think. And the only way to learn this is by asking them, okay? A long time ago, I learned from an amazingly successful salesperson what this meant. And he was successful for many, many years. And he showed how much he cared about coworkers and customers as people first by learning about their families, their kids, their personal dreams, their goals, and how he might be able to help them with what they wanted, not what he wanted from them. He met with them regularly, talked to him on the phone, and usually it wasn't about business. It was just to stay in touch. How's it going? That kind of thing. He was sincere and genuine, and he had tremendously loyal customers and coworkers who would do anything for him because he cared about what they thought, not what he thought they thought. He knew the difference between we think and they think. So kind of looking at this, pulling this all together. So the world today is not so different than it was years ago. And if you say you don't have time to do these kind of things, you're wrong. If you're in leadership, you don't have time to not do it. It's part of your job. People will always be people first, and they will always want to work with or for people who care about them. But you have to understand what they think. You have to ask them. And it doesn't take that much to meet somebody for coffee one morning, take somebody to lunch, maybe play golf once in a while. Remember their kids' birthdays or graduation, or their birthdays or their wedding anniversaries if they have them, or if they're taking an unusual vacation this year, or when they got a new car, or a spouse gets a promotion at work, or any other personal milestone. Remember about the first core element of leadership. It's about creating a positive emotional connection with others. And this is exactly what I'm talking about here. These are all things people do when they care about other people. And if you're not doing any of these things, you might want to think about starting to do them and do them in a sincere way. The only way you can truly know how someone else feels about you and your company is to ask them. Actually listen to them, as if your business depends on it. If what they think aligns with what you think, then great. But if not, this is where your focus should be. What are we missing? So what might be helpful, I think, is just simply pay attention over the next few days to how you and others in your company respond to situations involving employees and customers. Are you kind of blowing them off or ignoring their comments or opinions because they don't align with what you think? Maybe you just think they just don't get it, or they don't understand your perspective or your opinion. Remember, leadership is all about people. And to understand people, you have to talk to them as people. Okay? So thanks for watching, and I hope you got something from today's video. Next week, I'm going to be talking about when leaders feel disconnected at work. Kind of an interesting topic, but I think it's a pretty good one. So, hey, thanks again. If you're interested, check out the links below to my website and my book on Amazon. And take care. We'll see you next time.